Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I wanted to talk about Macbeth again, uh, look at a particular scene. We're going to look at Act 1, Scene 2 of Macbeth. It's the scene where King Duncan and Malcolm, King Duncan's son, are talking with the captain of the Scottish army about what happened during a battle that Macbeth and Banquo were in. So we're going to look at the scene allegorically and symbolically. So try to find deeper truths, hidden spiritual meanings within this particular scene. And here on this channel, we believe Bacon wrote the Shakespeare works. And Francis Bacon wrote something called The Wisdom of the Ancients. And in that work, he interpreted known myths, Greek myths, Roman myths, and he interpreted them. He saw in them deeper meanings. They pertain to political things, spiritual things, and natural things, things of nature. So hidden messages within those myths, and that are true for all time. And so he did this also with the Shakespeare plays. So in the Shakespeare plays are definitely hidden meanings throughout all of his plays. Okay? And so this definitely shows that Bacon had a higher consciousness. So in that he must have practiced something to give him that higher consciousness. Okay, it could have been alchemy, and alchemy would have had to have some sort of meditative practice in order for Bacon to have a higher consciousness, and then to write from that higher consciousness. Okay, so we'll look at the three characters in the scene: King Duncan, Malcolm, and the captain. Interpret what their symbolic meanings are, and then we will go through. They each make statements, and so we'll go through those statements and interpret them from a yoga, a Christian, and an alchemical viewpoint. Okay, so we'll use those three as we're interpreting the scene. Okay, so we'll start with the character symbolism. So King Duncan is God, or God consciousness. King Duncan, the way I see it, he seems to be an observer, a concerned observer. He wants to ascertain what's going on. So we'll keep that there. So King Duncan is God, or God consciousness. Malcolm would be the soul. Okay? And we'll discuss how I came about that interpretation. And then the captain is reflection, the ability to look within oneself to ascertain what's going on. Okay? So King Duncan as God, Malcolm as the soul, and the captain as reflection. Okay? So King Duncan begins the scene. He says, I see that bloody man over there, referring to the captain, and he can report on what's going on, with the battle. He defines it as a revolt. Okay. So the deeper allegorical meaning of this, so the revolt, this is the demonic qualities, the negative qualities that exist within all of us, trying to usurp and or blind us to God consciousness. It is revolting against the natural order of things. Okay? The harmonic order of things. Later in the play, Macbeth describes King Duncan as someone who performs his offices so excellently. Right? He's done it so well. and that causes uh, Macbeth hesitancy in wanting to kill King Duncan later in the play. Okay, so the revolt. So King Duncan says, this man can report of the revolt, okay, the new estate. And we'll talk about what the new estate means. So, but the revolt is the negative or the demonic qualities. So these are the qualities of lust, greed, and those two vices figure prominently within Macbeth. Selfish ambition. So things like that. Those are the demonic qualities. Okay, he says, revolt the new estate. What bloody man is that? He can report as seemeth by his plight of the revolt the new estate. So in the action of the play, the new estate essentially means the news. What's the up-to-date news of what's going on in the battle. Okay. But the allegorical meaning, what is the state of consciousness? What is going on within us? What's happening? Are the positive qualities winning, or are the negative qualities winning? Okay. So this has a resonance with the Bhagavad Gita. A king character in the Gita asks Sanjaya, one of his counselors, what's going on in the battle? What's happening? Who's winning the battle? The Pandus, the positive qualities, or the Kurus, the negative qualities? So we've got the same dynamic going on. So this scene has a resonance with the Bhagavad Gita. Malcolm comes in and says that this captain has been a good and hardy soldier. Okay. Reflection is something that needs to be done consistently. Okay, it needs to be done all the time. You need to be a hardy soldier. You need to constantly do this in order to overcome those negative qualities. He's been a good and hardy soldier that has fought against my captivity. Now, again, Malcolm, if we see Malcolm as the soul, reflection assists in not letting the soul be captured by or consumed by negative qualities. He also describes him as brave friend. Now, reflection is the friend of the soul if you are using it as a tool to become a better being or a being of higher consciousness. And he calls him brave because reflection can lead to discovery of unpleasant things within us, right? It can help us, or it gives us sight into qualities that maybe we do not want to be aware of. Okay. But you must be brave in first acknowledging that those qualities exist within you, and then two, that you have to fight those qualities. So he says, please give knowledge of the broil as thou didst leave it. Okay. So knowledge of the broil, what's going on in the battle, what's happening, which qualities are winning. Okay. The divine qualities of love, forgiveness, understanding, giving, with the demonic qualities of lust, greed, hate, selfishness. Okay. Then the captain, reflection, replies, doubtful it stood. Okay. And 99% of us, we have the mixture of these qualities constantly going on, right? Sometimes we hate, sometimes we love, sometimes we're kind, sometimes we're mean. So it's these mixtures of qualities that are constantly revolving around in us and expressing themselves through us. Okay. So doubtful it stood. We don't know which side is going to win the battle. And then he uses kind of a famous alchemical image as two spent swimmers that do cling together and choke their art. Okay. So now this will have foreshadowing to Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. They will be two exhausted swimmers that choke the art of, well, I'll get into that, but it's a foreshadowing of, on one level, of Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. But allegorically speaking, the two spent swimmers are our reasoning nature, or reason, and our feeling nature. Okay? When reason and feeling are bombarded by negative thoughts or negative emotions, we become exhausted. Okay? And our art is choked. And in this particular instance, I think art refers to alchemy. Okay? And alchemy was referred to as the royal art. It's the art of transforming all of our negative qualities into, or demonic qualities into, divine qualities. So, and choke their art. So Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, if we look at them as one interpretation as negative reasoning and negative feeling, they will not transform into a higher state of consciousness. They will actually degrade. And of course, the entire play is about how they both degrade. But again, allegorically speaking, this is when it's referring to all of us, it's reason and feeling. Reason and feeling interact with one another. They influence one another. Okay? And this is also seen later in the play when Lady Macbeth influences Macbeth to go ahead with the murder. He doesn't want to do it anymore. You know, his conscience is speaking to him, but Lady Macbeth, and if we look at her as negative feeling, kind of comes in and says, no, you have to do this, right? So the negative feminine feeling influences the masculine reasoning. And again, these two qualities exist in all of us, reasoning and feeling. Okay, the captain goes on to say, the merciless Macdonald, worthy to be a rebel, for to that the multiplying villainies of nature do swarm upon him. And of course, those who have watched V for Vendetta, that line that V says comes from the scene in Macbeth, and one of the great lines in all of Shakespeare. The merciless Macdonald, worthy to be a rebel, for to that the multiplying villainies of nature do swarm upon him. Okay. So, allegorically speaking, Macdonald is that aspect of us that identifies with the negative qualities. Okay. It could be the ego that identifies, again, with all of the wanting to gratify the negative qualities within us, the demonic qualities, the negative qualities. And he describes him as merciless. And for all of us, these negative qualities seem to always be present. They never seem to be absent from us. And so we're constantly at war with those negative qualities. Okay? We're constantly at war with greed, anger, lust. And these are the multiplying villainies of nature. And if we engage in these qualities, if we engage in one vice, these could attract, hundreds of other vices to us. Okay. In the Bible, and I think this pertains to Macbeth, in Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 38, it says, "And I will purge out from among you the rebels, and them that transgress against me. This is God speaking. I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel. And ye shall know that I am the Lord. Okay. So the country is our consciousness. Okay. Israel, the land of Israel, is soul consciousness. And when we know our soul consciousness, we will then know the Lord. We will know God consciousness. Okay. I will purge out from among you the rebels. I will purge all of your negative qualities, all of your demonic qualities that keep you mortal, that can keep you bestial, that can keep you demonic. In this line, this digression is exactly the line that Macbeth follows. At first, he is heroic, he's human. He then becomes bestial, right? And then eventually, towards the end, he becomes satanic or demonic. The character that arms his armor at the end of the play, that character's name is Satan. Okay? Seyton. But Bacon is basically saying that Macbeth is filled with the demonic qualities. Okay, so there's an allusion to the Bible here, Ezekiel 20, verse 38. So again, the process of purging out negative qualities in order to become divine. He says Macbeth disdaining fortune. Okay. So disdaining fortune here already Bacon answers the question about fate. He went against the prevailing forces. So here Bacon is saying that we do have a choice in how we react to negative qualities or positive qualities. Right? We have a choice in the matter. All of us are presented with negative qualities. Not one person is not. And it depends on our choices. Do we engage with those qualities and act out of those qualities, or do we shun them? Do we ignore them? Okay. So again, disdaining fortune, he's fighting against the forces, the negative forces, the demonic forces. Okay. And later in the play, as Macbeth begins to succumb to the demonic forces, Banquo is set up as a foil, right? As a relief, so to speak, to Macbeth. Banquo is facing those same negative thoughts. He says this is in Act 2, Scene 1. But he asks for divine assistance in overcoming those dark thoughts, those dark forces. Okay. So Macbeth, he begins to succumb to the demonic forces. Banquo asks for divine assistance to overcome the demonic forces. Okay. Macbeth disdaining fortune with his brandished steel. So that's his sword. So, and again, the sword, and I think I've said this in some other videos, the sword means discrimination. So discrimination, this goes again with the captain. Discrimination, as you reflect, you begin to see, okay, yep, I have some positive qualities in me. I have some negative qualities in me. I have cut. I can see both now. Okay? And I can choose to cut away the worser part, to borrow from Hamlet. Cut away the worser part and live through the better qualities, the divine qualities. Okay, with brandished steel, his sword of discrimination. Okay, our sword of discrimination, which smoked with bloody execution. Okay, killed the demonic qualities. Okay, the sword of discrimination kills the demonic qualities. Okay. Bacon describes him as Valier's minion. He's serving the positive qualities by doing so. By killing the positive qualities, you are serving the positive qualities. Okay. And carved out his passage. Okay. So disdaining fortune, Macbeth, disdaining fortune with his brandished steel, which smoked with bloody execution, like Valor's minion, carved out his passage. So to use yoga, this could mean the spine. Okay? As you ascend, as your prana, your energy, ascends the spine, more and more divine qualities open up. Okay? And you are leaving behind the demonic qualities. So again, that's the ascent of prana, energy, going up the spine, carving out his passage. Okay? Till he faced the slave. So again, through reflection and willpower and meditation, you fight against the demonic qualities. You fight against your former state of being identified with those qualities, whether it's anger, lust, or greed. You're fighting against that mortal state, the slave state. Okay? As you begin to practice any type of spiritual path, you have to fight against this negative state. Now, we'll all succumb. We all do succumb to the negative state. This is seen in all of great literature, but you have to keep fighting, okay, till he faced the slave. Okay. Which never shook hands nor bade farewell to him. He didn't engage at all with MacDonald, so he didn't engage at all with the negative qualities. Okay. In yoga philosophy, probably also in alchemical philosophy, the moment a negative thought, because everything begins with thought, and thought affects feeling, which then also affects thought. So it's a cycle. The moment you destroy a negative thought, you destroy everything else negative. It can't take root. Okay? You cannot eat of the insane root then. It says he cut him from the nave to the chaps. Okay, the nave meaning the navel, the chaps meaning the jaw. So this could, allegorically speaking, symbolically speaking, this could mean ingestion or digestion, what you're taking in and digesting. You're no longer taking in and digesting negative qualities, okay? You're purging them, you're unseaming them. And also knave has a religious connotation. The nave of a church, being protected by the church, by spiritual qualities, divine qualities that protect you against negative qualities. Okay, fixed his head, fixed MacDonald's head on our battlements. Okay, so again, I think head thought. The moment you cut off the head, the moment you cut off thought, you are cutting off all the evil that follows. Okay. The captain says it appears that peace was upon Macbeth and Banquo, but then more fighting came. Okay, another battle came. So the initial battle with MacDonald, that could be the battle of the mind, the battle of thought. The second one with this Norwegian lord, that could be the battle of feeling. Okay, so you're battling both reason and feeling, the negative qualities, the negative thoughts, and the negative emotions. Okay, and this also points on the spiritual path that just when we think perhaps we're making advancement or we feel we're in a safe space, something new comes along to battle us or challenge us. Okay. So King Duncan said, well, didn't this dismay Malcolm and Banquo? And he says, yes, it did. Okay. As sparrows, eagles, as the hare of the lion. So sparrows, so this is an allusion to this, could be when Christ talks about, God sees everything. He sees even the fall of a sparrow. He's essentially saying that nothing is outside the care of God. Nothing is outside God consciousness. Okay? But that eagles, Christ speaks of eagles. I don't recall which book in the Gospels, but he speaks of eagles where the bodies are, there are the eagles. I'm paraphrasing. But the eagles are desires. And these are earthly desires. These are negative desires. Okay? So that fits the theme of what we've been talking about. The battle between divine qualities and demonic qualities. Okay? The desires coming to kill the spirituality of the sparrow. Okay? The sparrow representing spirituality, the eagles representing desire. Or the hare, the lion. So the hare, alchemically speaking, represents Mercury. And Mercury is seen as the messenger between the gods and human beings. And in yoga philosophy, it's prana, it's chi, it's the life force that relates, that connects the earthly to the divine. Okay, as our energy ascends our spine, we come out of earthly consciousness, mortal consciousness, and we ascend into divine consciousness, God consciousness. So Bacon used these Christian and alchemical images to, I didn't finish my point. So the hare is prana, the rabbit, the hare is prana, and the lion is satanic delusion or desire. Okay, that the lion comes and devours spirituality, right? So this is reminiscent of, or this an allusion to this is 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8, right? Be sober, be vigilant, again, using reflection, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. Okay. So again, these are the demonic qualities seeking to devour the spiritual qualities within us. So that if you engage in the demonic qualities, your prana is kept low. Okay, it's kept in the lower three chakras, or spiritual centers, and it keeps your consciousness mortal. But through battling the demonic qualities, with reflection, with meditation, with good service, with cultivating the divine qualities, your energy begins to ascend. Okay? And if you engage in the dark qualities, the demonic qualities, you descend to a bestial state and then to a demonic state. And again, this is the road that Macbeth travels. Okay. The captain then says, they were going to fight to the death, Macbeth and Banquo, or memorize another Golgotha. So Golgotha, again, is the place where Christ died. And symbolically speaking, the crucifixion of Christ is to sacrifice everything mortal, everything bodily, to realize God. So again, that's another image repeating this battle of the divine against the demonic. Duncan then says, so well thy words become thy wounds. This could be an allusion to Christ as well. Christ's teachings and his wounds were spiritual saviors to many, right? And to all of us who engage with Christ's teachings. And then King Duncan says, get him to surgeons, get the captain to surgeons. So essentially this is following a spiritual guide. The surgeons are spiritual guides, spiritual books. So whichever spiritual guide you resonate with, whichever spiritual book you resonate with, follow that. Okay? And that will help to heal your emotional wounds, your psychological wounds, your spiritual wounds. It will help against the fight. It will help you identify demonic qualities. It will help you identify demonic qualities, or divine qualities, and the steps to take to overcoming the demonic and cultivating the divine. So reading the Bible, reading the Bhagavad Gita, reading about the life of Christ, reading about the life of Krishna, the Quran, Prophet Muhammad, the Torah, Moses, the Baha'i faith, and other faiths, and other gurus, spiritual teachers. So those are the surgeons. Those are the healers. So in this one scene, in Act 1, Scene 2, it very much is about the entire spiritual process for all of us, okay? No matter what spiritual practice we follow. It is the destruction of the demonic, and it is the cultivation of the divine. Okay, so I think I'll leave it there. Let me know what you think. Please give me any comments that you have, and please like and subscribe. That helps the channel greatly. Again, thanks for listening, and have a wonderful evening.